Hello everyone, it's Elizabeth and I'm here in my art loft. I haven't been on YouTube for a while, but today I thought I would show you how to put a stained glass window in your book page. So when you're making a junk journal, you can have some beauty in there that you've made with your die cuts and so on. The first thing that you need is a die cut that has open areas in it, such as a butterfly wing, or this patterned, which almost looks like a stained glass window anyway. But whatever you use, it should have, well, the open areas like that, and you should run it through your die cutter on with 2 layers of black or whatever color you want for the frames of the colorful things inside. Now, you can use for the stained glass look, then you can use either a printed out vellum, yes, you could use that, or printed out acetate, which is what I'm going to use with my big butterfly here. And the printed out acetate, you have to let it dry for a really long time. This one I was impatient with, so I took my paper towel and just smeared the colors, and I kind of like the way that looks, so I'm going to make the big butterfly out of that. And the first thing that you have to do is to glue your frame, your butterfly frame, if you want to call it that, to the piece of paper. And I'm going to glue it with this side up, and I'm going to kind of stage it. In this case, I've got different colors, so I might want more green in the middle, and you're not going to see any of the outside, just what is under the butterfly. So we're going to go ahead and get started gluing that. What I do on a big thing like this to glue it is to pick it up first, and then I usually glue the middle part. So, oh great, come on, glue. Had your stopper in there. There's no excuse for coming out less. Okay, so I try to glue all the little bits down, but if you miss a few, it's usually not going to matter unless you're making a pocket on the other side of the page that you put this on the other page, because if you put a pocket on there, that you might have something in there that would catch on any of the little bits that you don't glue down. But it is a little bit tedious gluing down all the different things, and but still needs to be done. I mean, all of it needs to be glued down. Okay, so I usually do that much, and I knew basically where I was going to put it, so right about here, I think I want the edges to look like that. Now, any of the parts that you glue down, you don't have to actually take the glue out of it, and you notice that the glue smears the ink. This is the ink side of the page. This is a piece of acetate that's on a piece of paper that comes that way. It's supposed to be printable on the dye-based, you know, your printers that are not, what are they? Let's see, there's 2 kinds of printers. There's one that's laser printer. Okay, that's not the kind that you're using on this, although laser printer would probably work as well. And you can see I'm just putting little bits of glue on this. On the lines, it's easier. And the other kind of printer is inkjet. That's it, yeah. So on an inkjet printer, this is supposed to work, and the ink's supposed to stick to it. Well, it does, but the ink is still water soluble. So if you get wet on it, including glue, then it will go ahead and stick. I mean, move. So you want to go ahead and put your glue on here as fast as you can and as good as you can. The particular stuff that I'm using is a vinyl that is supposed to be used for book covers for like textbooks and so on. And fortunately, I received it from my sister, but you could use black paper as well as this. And I'm just using the paper side to glue down. The vinyl side you'll see in a minute. Now, when it has a blob of glue, like this little blob of glue here, it probably will go ahead and squish out of there. And I don't want it to do that, because if it squishes out in the butterfly form itself, it's still going to move that paint that's on the ink that's on the inkjet print, so I want to go ahead and remove that if I can with my fingers instead of having it come out like this little blob, because it will remove that ink, and I don't want that ink to move and show a little hole in the stained glass. So when I've got that sufficiently down, and I believe it is, then we'll do the other side. It's easier for me to glue from this, so I'll turn it around. And here we have the other side to glue. And we'll just do the bottom first. It doesn't really matter which one you do first. Just want to make sure you don't get any big fat glue blobs. Now the other thing you'll need to do this is to have your page that you're going to use to put this on, obviously. I made my pages out of book pages, and I'll show you that in a moment. And if you miss any, you can always go back and tuck a little glue up under there. It's a little harder once it's down, but can be done. Okay, let's blob a little bit of that off because I think I got a little extra. And there, and there, and there. The top of the wing's a little bit easier because it's got kind of lines you can follow. See these lines here like this? And you really wouldn't have to put it on each of these spokes here, here, because they'll be glued down top to bottom with this. And you put them on there if you want, whatever you think is necessary to glue your butterfly sufficiently. This is a big stamp from, it's a Tim Holtz Sizzix stamps. I believe it's Sizzix. And I've wanted it for ages, and it was on sale for half price, so I got that, and I'm very happy with it. I think it looks gorgeous, especially when you do something like this with it. Okay, a little too much maybe on that edge, so let's do that. And I'm just blotting it off with my finger, and then we can put a little bit more back on this side because it looks like it's come loose. And then we can lay that down very straight. And my ring evidently has scratched some of the ink off. You will have to be careful with this page. You won't want to mishandle it and stuff and mess it up. Okay, so that now, once you've got this side glued down, which it will continue to glue down because obviously it's not totally dry yet, we can turn it, if I can get it apart again at this edge. Come on, you. We can then take this loose from the backing sheet that comes with it. And we can turn it over. And then I have my other butterfly part. Where are you? There you are. To glue on this side. Now this one's a little more difficult. And you notice if you just do the one side, you're going to see that glue in there. But if you put this other butterfly on there, then you won't see the glue because this one will cover it up. Now one thing I should mention is that this butterfly, it looks very similar side to side, but if you look at the antennas of this butterfly, they're not. They're swirled off to one side. So if you make two butterflies that you cut separately out of the thing, you have to make one that you cut from the back of the paper and one that you cut from the front of the paper. Because otherwise you're going to have the antenna on your stained glass window are not going to be right. Okay, so that's good enough for the middle. So the hardest part is positioning this to be exactly where the other one is. And you just have to be a little bit careful. And sometimes you've moved the antenna a little bit, and that was what I should have done before. I knew there was something else. Because when I have my final piece that I'm going to put on there, which looks like this, I need these antennae to line up. Okay, so let's get this apart here. And let's try this. Make sure my antennae line up. I should have done this as I did it. Oh, let's see. Yay, it's very close, very close. It's close enough to count. Okay, so when we get this down here, it's going to look a-okay. All right, so let's move that. Should have shown you those first, maybe. I don't know. This is the back side, so your glue is not going to move any ink from this side. Now I do need that tail to line up with the other tail. And the head to line up with the head. And if you have any extra little glue bits on this side, you can just flick them off and there's no big deal. Which I do have some from my fingers. Came off my fingers. I'll put those in the trash real quick. And then we'll get to gluing the wing real quick. And you know that gluing on acetate, the art glitter glue probably will work, but it won't be the very best. Maybe there are other things you could glue on acetate with. But this will hold unless somebody goes picking at it and trying to get it off of here. So just tell your people not to mess with the glue. The glued on things on acetate. Anybody you sell your book to or give your book to, just say, don't pick on that butterfly. Okay, so got the top wing done. Top of the wing done. Come on, you. Okay, let's do the bottom of the wing. It is very tedious, this part, but this is worth it because it makes such a beautiful page for you. I did this in a friend's journal. We had a round robin, and I did this in my friend Maria's journal, and she liked it. Everybody else liked it too. I was very happy with the way it turned out. I wasn't sure it would do exactly what I wanted it to do, but pretty close. It turned out really nicely and looked good in her journal, so what more do you want? Okay, so that's close enough. And we'll just make sure that this line of the wing goes where it's supposed to, and the rest of the wing goes where it's supposed to. And this vinyl that I'm using can move a little bit. It can stretch a little bit, so you do have to be a little bit careful on that. But usually it works perfectly. I mean, it works fine. You don't have to worry about it. Now see how that's pushed up a little? That's down there. You do have to coax it into position a little bit, maybe. And that little piece isn't glued down. Let's go ahead and glue the rest of the tail. Oh, not tail, the tail of the wing. Okay, and let's flip that little guy up and give him a little glue because he's trying to move on me, and I don't want that to happen. And there we have a little glue. Okay, and usually hold it up to the light to see if there are any places that are like not glued against their counterpart on the back. And then let's turn him around to his other side. These other pieces, I was going to do the little butterfly first to show you that easy how it is easy, but of course I did not. So this one needs to go over this way a little bit, and I can still coax it. This wing needs to go down a little bit too. And there we go. Okay, so we'll put a little blue on the bottom part of the wing. Squirrely glue. Makes little tiny tracks of blue, which is fine. This is exactly what we need, is a little tiny trail of glue. Keep falling in the holes. Okay, let's take a little bit off of there. And then we'll lay it down exactly where the other one was. And if you get a little bit of extra glue there, which I need to move this over just slightly. There we go. Perfectly. But if you get a little extra glue in there, you can clean it out with your pointy tool, or in this case I have a little spatula looking thing that's made of metal that works really well for cleaning out like glue there. And let's push this down. Should have probably done that first. There's a little fluffy there. I don't know what that is. And there we have our butterfly. Now to put it on your card, on your page, let's go ahead and put the glue in there, the topper in this real quick, if I can find it. All right, there he is. I have a dragonfly on my glue topper. It helps to find. Okay, so we'll put that in there. But to put this in your page, and there was sticky on that, by the way. We're going to move this, turn this over, make it easier for you to see maybe. We're going to put our page around it. Now when I cut out 2 of the black, and then I also cut out from the page, and that's the wrong side. I have 2 pages that I'm going to put on it. And when I cut them out, I cut them together at the same time so that I would get them in the same position on the page. Okay, so the page is going to be here, like this. You can see how it's going to go around the butterfly. But before we put it in there, we don't need all this excess acetate. So we're going to trim away the acetate that we don't need, and then we'll show you how to put it into the page. So it just takes a minute, and you're basically going to fussy cut, but further away from it. You don't need to fussy cut too close at all. In fact, you could fussy cut even further away than this, but I usually just give it a nice ½ inch or so, and then you can use this other piece of the acetate for something else. Put it over here, and now I know this part of the wing hangs out, so I am going to cut exactly around that, but I'll show you how we do that in a moment. So we have our butterfly, and now we're ready to glue on the pages. So you have to have your pages separate from your book to do this, but you can always add a page to your book by tipping it into your book. You know what that means? That means just glue a strip along here, either washi tape or something else, to make it go into the book. Okay, so when we're going to put this on here, the first thing we're going to do is to go around the antennas, because that's the hardest part to get even and nice. So we're just going to get a little bit of glue around this antenna, a little bit in here as well. And I'm going to take that away from there, take a little bit of that off so that it doesn't get on my vinyl. You can wash it off, obviously. And things fall on my desk. Sit up there, you. Okay, he's going to sit up. Okay, so you're very careful about where you put your paper around your antennas. And they should fit perfectly if you've lined your butterfly up right. And there they work pretty well. And if they don't work really well, you can take this antenna and actually take it loose a little bit and scoot it over if it needs be, so it fits in there. Okay, and then of course this comes right up against your wing there. There's the antenna. This comes right up against the wing like this. And you just kind of give it your thumbnail to spread it down against the wing. To make sure that it's up against it and not overlapping. So you can just take your thumbnail or your fingernail, either one, to move that paper so that it's right up against that and not overlapping. And let's not stick where we're not wanting to stick there. There we go. That's right up against it. And it usually goes together pretty well because your wing, your butterfly is the same shape that you've already cut out of this. Now, did I put glue in there? I did, didn't I? Okay, so there we've got that much done. Did we get some glue out of it? No. So you can see here, you've got it right up against the wing, right up against the antenna on that side, and the thing that you're seeing, the color here, is the color of the acetate that's showing when you have that paper there, so you can see it, because, you know, it's harder to see if you don't have any paper there. And then we can do this, and when you're doing this part, you want to make sure that you get that in there just right. I'm going to go ahead and go that far. So we're going to, instead of looking over here, we're going to go here and make sure that this little part around his tail goes in just right. Go up a little bit. There we go. And then we pull this around like it's supposed to be. Come on, you. I think his wings were not as far apart as they were supposed to be. That's good enough. That'll work. Come on. You have to talk to it. It always works better if you talk to it. And it doesn't seem like it's doing as well as it should. So we can take that loose if we need to. My glue has dried. And I didn't get this one in as far as I should have. So we'll put that in a little further. And if you've made this out of book pages, which I have, if you need to adjust it, you can, because you can take it loose. Right here where I've glued these two together. I mean, just make it work for you. You can take these two loose. And if you've made it as a solid sheet, you should have put this, unfortunately, you should have put this on first, which I didn't because I was too anxious to do it, and of course I did that. So now we're going to put more glue around here because all of our glue has dried. We're going to put this page back on. I'm making it look harder than it is. Okay, so that page goes on like that, right around there like that, and right around there like that, and we will glue it back to our other page so that it looks nice and pretty there. Just a little tiny bit of glue there. And it's perfect. Okay. So we come around this side. I might as well do the whole thing. Okay, and again, make sure any of the parts, like the tail here, the tail of the wing, the bottom of the wing, make sure any of the particular parts that you know, kind of stick out extra or whatever, are done nicely. Okay, so when we get to here, all that laying down flat, that's what your page is going to look like. And this guy's not glued yet. Tiny bit of glue there. Okay, so you don't want your edges, and I left that a little bit loose there. You don't want that part to show, but you don't want to trim it too much. Come on, glue, sit up there and behave. It's going to be obstinate. Okay, so I just trimmed that just a bit inside of the page, and then I'm going to go ahead and trim around this. Now, ordinarily, I would do this with an X-Acto knife, but I'll do it with the scissors because a lot of people are not as proficient with an X-Acto knife. So I did that, and I just trim that baby, and you can see there's a little tiny bit of paper showing there. And then I'll do the same down here. And this takes a little more finesse because the butterfly is a little crookeder. He's got a little more animation on this edge of him. A little more movement, whatever you want to call it. So just trim that. And then you're going to go down the edge of this butterfly. And actually my detail scissors might be better. But I think I can do it with these. I just have to cut slowly. usually hold my scissors still and do the cutting by, closing them as I move the page so that it seems to work better that way. And it doesn't matter if I overcut a little bit into the acetate, but it does matter if I overcut into the butterfly, so I don't want to do that. And there we have it. And just peel that guy out of there. Maybe I haven't cut the whole thing. Yeah. Leave that. And there we have it. So there's the wing that sticks out, and here's the part that isn't glued again. Let's do that. Put a little bit of glue here. And make sure it goes out to our page. Now, the second page is usually easier because you've already got your butterfly positioned. And my second page I made out of book pages also, but these were the clear parts of the book page. In other words, no wording on them or anything. So we're going to do the antenna first again because that is the most delicate part. And I'm just going to give the glue here. This one does need to be moved over slightly, so we're just going to pick him up and move him over. That's the beauty of the vinyl, that you can do that. Well, you could do that with your just with a black cardstock or whatever. I need to move that up against it very close. So see how I'm squishing that down into that area, moving that antenna over where I wanted. Why did you go back where you were? Bad antenna. Okay, and okay, don't get crooked on me. There we go. Perfect. Okay, so I can also glue the page together now too, because these pages are going to be one page. So I can go ahead and do that as I go, because this top is complete. And this is what actually holds it together, is that you glue the pages to each other. And that acetate, even though the pages could be picked up off of the acetate, I mean, you could peel all of that off of the acetate. You can't peel the pages apart. So you've got it sandwiched in there, so it's not going to go anywhere. This gray over here was because I was experimenting with grunge and experimented a little too close to this paper I had laying on my desk. But you could make this into a grunge butterfly. I mean, I'm sure there are those too. Okay. Trying to juggle my glue. Pull that down into there. That needs to go. Come on, you. And oops, not quite in there. You do have to kind of coerce it into where you want it to be, because your paper, sometimes, I think my paper probably expanded whenever I was cutting it to start with, because it seems like it doesn't want to be exactly the same shape, same size as this butterfly. Well, again, I can fix this again because I've made the page itself, and I've made it out of book page pieces. So I could just tear that right there. This is how you fix things if if they don't work quite like you want them to. Have to fix things somehow. And here we have, and you can see that there are multiple pieces to this page. You can see that there are, and that just expanded it enough by having that tear there, and there are tears everywhere else, so it's not like it's going to stand out like a sore thumb. It's just going to be thought that's exactly how it was originally. People will think it was there. Okay, again, do the part around the bottom, around the tail of the butterfly, to make sure you get that right. And in there far enough. Come on, you. You could even tear that loose and do that in this case. Now, if you were doing it with a solid sheet of paper, you'd probably want to do this all on the same day. And the reason I say that is because the humidity in your air can affect papers differently, and one might be exact right size one day, and the next day it might be a slight bit tiny bit too small. And you don't want that. Okay, so again, what we're doing here is making it fit up against, snugly against the butterfly outline. And then we can go ahead and glue the rest of the page in as well, which we didn't do right there around the vinyl. Not vinyl. Yeah, around the vinyl and the acetate. Make sure it's to the edge on the thing. And so we just glue that down. And since it's grunge anyway, it'll work out fine. Okay, so we're to the home stretch. Going to go down through here like this. And now when you tip this into your book, you will have your page with your vinyl butterfly with the acetate insert. Okay, I think I have to glue this a little bit down because you see it's popping up. So what I do there is I have this little spatula. You could do it with your X-Acto knife. And I put a little tiny bit of glue on the end of it. And if I can get my glue to come out. Should have refilled my glue, and I don't want that much. I just want a little bit. So I'm going to take that and go up under here. And then when I squish this down against it, it's going to have glue on the back there, and then that will push down. I can do the next one with the same, with the leftover glue, and then those will be stuck. There you have your butterfly. Let's do one more. We'll do the small one this time. Now you can do it with a like a butterfly that's totally in the paper. So this has a sticky on the edge of it. Let me see if I can find those pieces. Aha, here they are. 1, 2. These antennae are from something else. Get them out of the way. Okay, these two, and my pages for them are here. Yeah. So this one's really easy because it's just a small one, and obviously smaller makes it easier. So the butterfly then, and these actually are the same either way. So if you flip it this, they're not quite, because you see this little line here? That little line is skinnier on this side than it is on this side. So if you flip them the wrong way, and this is black paper, you can see it, sorta, that they're not exactly the same.